Greetings, salutations, respect, and love. I am Scott. You're in the Prog Corner. Today we're talking about a brand new album from Sweden's Kaipa. Their 15th album. Can you believe it? These guys formed in 1973 as Kaipa. Kind of from the ashes of Hans Luden's band, what were they called? San Michaels. Yeah, band whose first two albums are just being reissued next month. Very exciting. The first three albums back in the 70s had a dude named Royna Stolt in the band. Then he left, and then they did a couple of really terrible albums in the 80s like everybody else. Hans Luden, the main guy, did a couple solo albums, and then he reformed the band back in 2002, brought Royna Stolt back in a whole different lineup. He was around for exactly 3 albums again, then he took off, and we get Per Nilsson. This is his 7th album with the band. You got a new drummer, Darby Todd. This is his 2nd album with the band. So who's in the band? You got Hans Luden, of course, the only constant in Kaipa. He is joined by 2 singers. You got a male and a female singer. You got the great Patrick Lundstrom from Ritual, who have a new album coming out in August. I can't wait to tell you guys about. Alina Gibson provides the female vocals. You got Jonas Reingold on bass. Per Nilsson on guitar, and Darby Todd on drums. What a great lineup. You've got a couple guests on here. Ellen Rubinstein plays violin. Fredrik Lundqvist plays recorders and whistles. And Olof Oslund plays the sax. This album is 8 songs, 75 minutes long, but there is a bonus track that's 5 minutes. That takes it to the 80-minute mark. Comes out Friday on Inside Out, June 28th. Sommergryningsljus. There you go. That's how you say it. Sommergryningsljus. Well, the album opens up with a short little piece called Sommerkimmingsljus, which means summer evening light. Apparently, this is the whole genesis of the album, is this song. Alina Gibson was out in Hans's garden singing a beautiful melody, and Hans like, hey, let's go in the studio. We need to figure this out and record this right now. So once the album started getting going, they decided to split it, put like Sommergryningsljus at the front and then Sommergryningsljus at the back. It's the same song. There's a bonus track that combines the two. Good way to start the album. Always great to hear Alina Gibson's voice. The album is structured in a weird way. You have the 2 bookends of Sommergryningsljus, which are 2 short pieces, and then you got 6 big, chunky mini epics to cut through, starting with 7 Birds. It's just under 10 minutes long. This is an older song. Apparently 2 of these songs were older tracks that Hans Luden dusted off and redid. It starts with the typical Kaipa lush keyboards. You're in C sharp minor. The chord progression rolls all the way through. Somehow he modulates to A minor. I don't know how he does that. It's really weird. You're in 6/8 time here, and we go back to C sharp minor, and Patrick starts singing. And then when it modulates to A minor, Alina starts singing. It's really cool. Somehow we slide into a 4/4 section halfway through the song without even noticing. It's just like butter. It is so good and smooth. And then you go back into that 6/8, but before you do it, man, Darby Todd is playing these toms. It sounds like, the wings of a bird. I guess it makes sense. This song's called 7 Birds. And Alina's singing, fly, 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 fly. It's really weird. Kind of twee. There's a couple of twee moments on this album that kind of bother me, but we'll talk about those. Mostly I'm going to be talking about all the stuff that I love on this album. Oh man, just so good. What a great way to start the album. Next up is Like Thousand Dawns, and this is 11 minutes long. This whole song is like turning a kaleidoscope. Hans with his 1,000 different chords. Like every time you switch the kaleidoscope around, you're seeing different colors, and Hans is playing different chords. It's a really cool effect. It starts with this crazy elongated melody that Kaipa likes to do. You're in G minor here. Alina takes lead on this track here. The verses are in 6, and then he gets to the chorus, it's in 4. Kind of a cool thing. You get that whole kaleidoscope thing with diminished chords. You're looking through it and going all these different places. And Patrick comes in singing, and you're in 13, and now you're just so comfortable, man. This is where Kaipa lives and breathes, is on these weird time signatures. I mean, they play 13 like most bands play 4. It's just awesome. Then you go in this long, elongated pattern. It's just all this crazy stuff. Per Nielsen's playing. And then you get this weird buildup as the song comes back in, and you think you're going to go into some crazy section, and you're trying to figure out this rhythmic pattern at the end of the song. It's so weird. It's in 4. It's so weird, man. It took me like a half an hour to figure it out. It's actually in 4. And then the saxophone kicks in, and it just sounds so great. Amazing. Really cool song. I love it. Next up is Revelation View. This was released as a single, which is awesome to have a 9.5-minute song released as a single. It feels real big and powerful in the intro, and then Patrick and Alina kind of take turns singing leads on here. The middle section, complete with violin, just sounds really, really good, man. And then it modulates. This is like the coolest thing ever. There's like a half step down modulation where you're in G, and then before you know it, you're in F sharp. It's crazy, man. The hard modulation, something I haven't heard out of a Kaipa song, and it just sounds great. You got like whistles or recorders, or those Irish whistles, that Titanic sounding stuff at the 5-minute mark. Vocal section comes in again, and Per Nielsen just decides he's going to shred like crazy. Just a great, great song. I love it. Very typical Kaipa track, just dynamite. Next up is the atypical track of the longer ones. It's called Chased by Wolves and Burned by the Sun. It's a long title. It's a long song, 10 minutes long. But it starts out with some blue notes, man. You got flat 7s and flat 9s. Like, what? Hans Luden's been listening to blues or jazz. You don't hear those kind of chords too often in Kaipa. But once the song starts settling down, you get this really weird syncopated rhythm, man. It took me forever to figure out what's going on here. Yeah, it's in 2, but it's so syncopated. I don't know what's going on. This song is just crazy, man. It does kind of sound like Kansas, does kind of sound like Dixie Dregs with the violin in here. Lots of twists and turns, but this is the song completely owned by Darby Todd and Jonas Reingold. They completely dominate this thing with their brilliance. But Patrick's voice sounds a little bit strained here. For years I was wondering, what's the ceiling on Patrick's voice? Well, I think we find it. I think we find it on this song right here. Yeah, and then Jonas comes in. He's playing all this really cool stuff with the violin behind him, while Darby's just going crazy on the drums and Per laying down wicked solos on the top. Cool song, man. A little different. I like it. Next up is my favorite song on the album. It's also the longest song on the album. It's called Spiderweb Train, and it's 15.5 minutes long. It's awesome. It's an older song that Hans brought back, and I'm so glad he did. It's very stately and kind of brooding almost, kind of gothic. You're in D minor. You're in 6/8 time here. The alto sax returns on this song, and it's a welcome change. I love it. Jonas plays a lot of counterpoint on the bass here. And the thing about this album that I'm really enjoying is all the different lead instruments, because usually it's just Hans on his keyboard playing that weird keyboard sound with the overdrives and the preamps and the wah-wah pedals. I mean, who plays keyboard like that, man? So you got Hans, you got Per Nielsen just shredding crazy metal riffs over the top, and then you get saxophones, you get whistles, you get recorders, you get violins, you get all these different instruments playing leads, creating a lot of different flavors. Just amazing. I love it. Then you get into this really, really great section at the 7-minute mark. It's just a magical Kaipa moment in 23. Yeah, it's in 23/8 time, but it just sounds so natural and normal for them, like they're just breathing. They're playing in 23/8 time. Don't worry about it, guys. Then you get this real weird, dangerous, kind of industrial sounding section. And then you get a peaceful pastoral section in 5. And then you get back in 6, and you get more Per Nielsen magic. What a great song. 15.5 minutes just flies by. I love it. The last long song is called Song in Our Hands. It's 13 minutes long. It opens with Patrick singing a very mournful, sorrowful kind of melody. Starts with a suspended chord, so it creates that tension right from the get-go. You're in G minor here, and the chords work through their progression. Then finally you get to the 4, and you're in an imperfect cadence here. And I swear, my ear wants to go to G major, but of course it goes to G minor. So you have that imperfect cadence in G minor. Sounds really, really cool. I love it. The violin comes back and plays the melody a little bit here. You get a little section where you're kind of feeling a major key, but not for long, as by the 3rd chord, you're already in a minor. And then you get some tribal drums kind of kicking up, and you're playing this incredible chord progression again, but this time Hans has dusted off the Hammond organ. Oh man, it sounds so good. And Hans is doing these crazy solos. Man, he plays like nobody else. I've never heard anyone play the keyboards like Hans Lunden ever. And Per Nielsen just kills it in this song, man. Just shredding it, man. There's a reason why when I did my top 25 guitar players of all time, Per Nielsen made the list. Absolutely. And then Alina comes back singing that main part again. But not only are we in B flat minor now, but we've got all these replacement chords. It's great. It's fantastic. Then the album ends with the return of the title track, the Sommergryningsljus. This time it's 4 minutes, so it's fleshed out a little bit more. You've got the band playing. 2 things I really love about this track is you got a little acoustic guitar comping in the background, and you've got Hans doing arpeggios. He's not an arpeggio kind of guy, but they sound beautiful in this track. More like that, Hans. So what's my score going to be for Sommergryningsljus? Well, I've got it written down here, but I might just have to do an audible here. I might be talking myself into a different score as I'm doing the review. So my score here is going to be, what's it going to be? I'm giving this puppy 9.5, man. It's awesome. I love this thing. It's the last album I'm reviewing of the first half for 2024. Wednesday, I am doing the best prog albums of 2024 so far. Guaranteed Kaipa's going to make that list. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'll probably take the day off tomorrow to get it just right. You know how I am about these things. Anyway, boys and girls, I love you so much. Peace in the Middle East, free Tibet, and God save the king. Save King Chucky. Chucky needs some saving. Save that boy. That son of a gun needs your saving. Bring him to America. Oh, yeah, our prayer warriors are standing by. We'll take care of that boy. We'll do spells and incantations, and then we'll drink some poison, and then we'll dance with them rattlesnakes. Woo, yeah, we're gonna dance with them snakes, and King Chucky's gonna be just right as rain. I'll see you punks Wednesday. Peace.